And we will start with Ivanova Smith, Diana Stadden, Sean Latham, and Krista Milhofer.
Hello, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ivanova Smith, and I represent Self Advocates in Leadership, SAIL, and I have the 29th Legislative District. We like the parts of the budget that promote community housing for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the community nursing facilities. However, we do not support the $120 million nursing home at Fircrest, and we cannot support that part. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ivanova. Ms. Stadden, good to see you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Diana Stadden. I'm with the ARC of Washington State. And a little earlier today, I emailed you our smiley face budget side by side for the capital budget. As most of you probably know, because you've heard from us, we aren't happy with the large facility that's to be built at Fircrest for a nursing facility. We are happy that you did listen to some of what we had to say, and that there are some community settings being proposed as well. And we hope that those will stay in the final budget. There may be 100 people or so at Fircrest who want to live there now because they're there. But when they're gone, we are not going to have people wanting to go into a large facility in one area of the state. We need them all around the state. We are also happy to see that there's some studies going on, the housing study and the Housing Trust Fund. And we're glad that the self-advocates are included in the design process for what happens at Fircrest, although it's a bit late because most of it's already been kind of decided. We are glad that you're hiring somebody to do something with the excess property at Fircrest so that it can be utilized and used for people with DD. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stadden. Appreciate it. We'll move on to Sean Latham. Hi, Sean. Good to see you.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Flock and members of the committee. My name is Sean Latham, the Director of Allies and Advocacy. Allies is signed in as con because we are against the $118 million, 100-bed dedicated developmental disability nursing home. We believe people should receive nursing-level care in their communities. Therefore, we are for the small 4 to 5-bed community care nursing homes in the budget. We are also happy about the $315 million provided for affordable housing projects. Finally, we ask you in the future to give people a little more time between releasing the budget and the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Latham. I appreciate that. Krista Milhofer.
Hi, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Krista Milhofer, and I'm the Program Administrator for People First of Washington. People First of Washington is the largest self-advocacy organization of for and by people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and we have 1,000 members statewide with over 30 chapters. My testimony today is in honor of Tony Hall, who passed earlier this year due to complications of COVID-19 while living under state care. Tony Hall was a self-advocate who was against institutions of any name, whether they were called a nursing home, forensic hospital, school, or rehabilitation center. He was able to speak about being isolated from the community, having spent 13 years of his life in Western State Hospital, where he lost touch with his family. He advocated for an end to institutions. We hope that investments in housing continue, as the housing crisis is a contributing factor. We hope that the committee will consider the alternatives to the Fircrest Nursing Home proposed by the Shut Them Down Coalition and the Developmental Disability Council. All data, going back to civil rights era, clearly states that community-based services are the better, cheaper, and safer option. 17 other states have shut down their institutions. Indiana has graciously provided the blueprint they use to do that. It is posted on the People First of Washington website, along with links to the Olmsted decision and the Disability Rights Washington January report detailing the safety risks people with disabilities face in our institutions. Mike Raymond, our state board president, is not able to make it today, but we ask that you consider him, Tony Hall, and the voices of so many others here today. Shut them down.
Thank you very much, Ms. Millhofer. Jeremy Norton-Paul.
Good afternoon, Chair Rolfes and committee members. For the record, my name is Jeremy Norton-Paul, and I'm the Executive Director of the Washington State Developmental Disabilities Council. And we sincerely appreciate the inclusion of a pre-design for community nursing care homes, an investment in the Housing Trust Fund for people with developmental disabilities, a community-based housing study, and a full-time land manager to maximize revenue for the Dan Thompson Community Services account. However, we are very concerned that this capital budget also includes an enormous investment in an outdated model of nursing care that is segregated, institutional, and completely antithetical to what the developmental disabilities community wants and needs. As you know, we often talk about aging in place, growing older at home, as being one of our state's core values and guiding principles. Just this week in the Senate Health and Long-Term Care Committee, Representative Theringer said, aging in place is a fundamental principle that the state is trying to promote, and went on to explain how this approach also saves the state hundreds of millions of dollars. Unfortunately, when we look at the large nursing facility proposed in this budget, it's apparent that the aging in place principle is not being applied equitably to the developmental disabilities community. The good news is we have an alternative proposal for providing state-operated nursing care in a more community-based, person-centered manner and also more cost-effective. And we've been sharing this proposal and are eager to continue the conversation to help bring it to fruition. So thank you for your time.
Well, then we'll go on to Anthony Nash, Lisa Hayes, Cynthia Stewart, and Stacy Dim.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Anthony Nash. I live in the 8th Legislative District, and I am on many boards, and I work with People First of Washington as their online coordinator, but I'm also the coordinator for SAIL, Self-Advocates and Leadership, and I do not approve of the bill 5083 because people deserve to live in the communities. They deserve to feel that they're free. And these nursing facilities, yeah, they may have some good cause of medical resource, but people feel like prisoners inside of it. They feel that they're not being treated like equal members of society. And we feel that we want to be free in our community. And I have personally seen being in one of these, and it just does not work for me. And many other people I work with they're not for institutions either. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Risa Hayes.
Thank you very much for letting me speak today. My name is Risa Hayes, and I am from Spokane, Washington, and I am dead set against this proposal. Thank you very much.
And Stacy Dim. Good to see you, Stacy.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, members of the committee. My name is Stacy Dim. I'm the Executive Director of the ARC of Washington State, a statewide organization with 9 local chapters, and we advocate for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We have signed in con to the capital budget because it moves forward, as you've heard, the new 100-bed nursing home facility on the grounds of Fircrest, which we oppose. And it does not have equal or sufficient investment in the construction of community-based housing for people with developmental disabilities, which we desperately need to move people into supported living, to SOLAs, in adult family homes, and from hospitals. However, we are wholeheartedly in favor of the $100,000 housing study. We're excited that may give us a long-term strategic plan for community-based housing. We're grateful for the support of the additional $300,000 for the pre-design for 4 to 5 4-bedroom community-based homes that would provide nursing level care in small regional settings. We really thank you for hearing us on this issue. We are also very happy with the $5 million in the DD set aside and the $150,000 land manager specialist. That we think this will all provide very needed incremental moves forward on community-based housing, and we're grateful for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stacy. Ms. Clark.
My name is Julie Clark, and I am using my Tobii Dynavox speech device to share my message about why I feel no one needs to live in an institutional setting. These are my own words, and my speech device will help me get them out clearly. Cerebral palsy is my disability. I am 54 years old, and I live in Lacey. I was in Western State Hospital for 3 months in 2001. CoQA is a residential provider, and they got me out of the hospital in September of that year and put me into my apartment with day and evening caregivers. I was in independent living. In independent living, my caregivers did cook and clean. I was able to come and go as I pleased. My transportation was using public transportation. Being independent was especially important to me because I could set my schedule. I chose how to run my life. I worked for the Department of Health and Human Services as a secretary for 17 years before I retired in 2018. Working was essential to me because I was involved, contributing to my community. I was an important member of that organization for many years. The United Churches of Olympia is my church, and I have been going there for over 25 years. I am an active member of my church. The church is important to me. As I aged, I could not take care of myself. I needed to have 24-hour care. So, CoQA placed me in a shared home that CoQA runs. I had a roommate who was yelling all the time. My roommate would assault the caregivers. Being in the shared home was not safe for me. In November 2019, I moved to an apartment in Lacey with CoQA's help. I get 24-hour care. A nurse comes to check up on me because my hair is high. I have a feeding tube, vest chest compression machine, and hair lift. My caregivers go everywhere I go. It is nice to be living on my own again. I was in and out of the hospital with pneumonia for the last 6 months of 2019. Shelley is a nurse that CoQA hired. She has taught me how to breathe better. I have not been to the hospital with Shelley's help since January 2020. I am in community inclusion, a part of a supported employment program that allows me to continue to be active in my community now that I am retired. It is still essential for me to be involved in the community. I do a lot of advocacy and volunteer work. When I was in an institution, I could not do what I can do in the community. I am pleased to be in the community to set my schedule and be involved in whatever activities I choose. I have all the freedom that my health will allow, and I am grateful to be an active part of my community. A group of self-advocates was formed known as the Shut Them Down Coalition, and I am a member of this group. This group wants to close all the residential rehabilitation centers, RHC, to allow all of these individuals to be active members of their community. I strongly believe that all disabled people should live in the community and that nobody should live in an RHC. Will you sign a petition to shut them down?
Thank you very much, Ms. Clark. Let's go to Cody. I know, Cody, you've been on the list. Thank you for waiting, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you all for creating this opportunity to allow us to speak. My name is Cody Cohan, and I am here as an advisor for People First of Washington, as well as a member of the Shut Them Down Coalition. And I am here to speak for the $118 million that is being proposed for a new institution. Having had some personal experience with these things and working with and for many people who have also had experience in an institution, as you have heard many people speak to already, it's very hard to overstate just how big of an impact that can have on immediate quality of life and future quality of life as well, especially when there are far better options, whether we're talking financially or quality of life. I would strongly urge you to reach out to those of us who have been reaching out to you and providing hard data, peer-reviewed scientific information that shows other ways that would make sense in frankly every way. And yes, I would also just like to mention that this is in some small part in honor for Tony Hall as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Ms. Farivar.
Thank you, Chair Frocht. I'm not sure what happened there. Somehow the Zoom closed, but I'm here. So thank you for the opportunity.
It's all good. We're glad to.
For the record, I'm Daria Farivar with Disability Rights Washington. We are strongly opposed to building a $612 million forensic hospital and a $120 million nursing facility for folks with developmental disabilities on the grounds of Fircrest. First, the forensic hospital. Simply put, the requested 350-bed hospital does not provide treatment and is not necessary. DSHS's own numbers show that they will need about 75 additional beds in 2027, and their figures do not take into account the consideration of the state's investment in the True Blood phased regions. The nursing facility. People with developmental disabilities should not be forced to live in segregated institutions in order to access the care they need. DSHS reports show that people with acute support needs can be successfully served in the community where they prefer to live. Lastly, we appreciate the $8 million to build 2 crisis stabilization facilities in King County as part of the True Blood settlement agreement. However, we have heard from stakeholders based on prior similar construction projects that this is not enough. Instead of spending $732 million on ineffective ways to serve folks with disabilities, please invest in supportive housing and community services. Thank you for your consideration.
Josie Schindler.
Hi, my name is Josie Schindler. I'm a DDA client of DDA. My brother was in Rainier School for some time when I was about 19. Me and my sister got him out of Rainier School very quickly, and he is now he is surviving in the community. He is happy. He is healthy. And when he was in Rainier School, he was depressed and he wanted out. In fact, he wanted out so bad that he would even follow us to our cars and try to get in. And so I'm glad that we were able to get my brother out, but having the institutions in still here and not shut down, I am afraid that he will go back. And I do not want him to go back because it would hurt me and my sister and all the hard work we did to get him out. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you hearing my story. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Schindler. Craig, go right ahead.
Thank you, Council Member, Senator Frock and Council members. I'm testifying in behalf of members of my friend Warren, and I'm going to try to take less than a minute here, but it's a complicated story. Warren was the kindest, most gentle, generous man I ever met. I met him in the late 90s. Warren suffered from nightmares. Warren was put into Lakeland Village, which is a state institution, at about the age of 3, him and his twin sister. He spent the next 40 years in this institution. He suffered from nightmares of this living in an institution. And some of his own stories that, as times changed, so did the treatment change. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad. But when it was bad, there was never anyone to see it. There was never anyone to witness it. He was held prisoner. Warren lived 30 years outside with some supported living of a residential service. Warren lived a full life. He lived happy. The only regret he had is he feared going back into an institution, and he could never understand why he was put in a prison for something he never did wrong. The only thing he ever did wrong was have an intellectual disability. And Warren was, in his memory, look in your conscience. Look at some of the movies, Willowbrook, some of the past movies of the treatment of people in institutions. It's a matter of time until this falls apart. People belong in the community with community members. And I urge you to please build community solutions, not institution solutions, and segregating our population. They deserve to be with the community. It's time we let go of those ugly laws and all those things that this history is built on. Free the people. Eventually, everyone belongs in the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.